Hey guys, it's Jeff, and I'm actually doing the call today. We're all in the office. We were gone last week. Um, Thursday and Friday we were in the cities for the training that we do once a month, but we're all back in the office. Tricia, Missy, Mike, and myself, we're all here. So if you guys have any questions or if you need anything, just give us a call. We're happy to help. Hey, I know it's a little bit of a smaller call today, and typically when I do the call, you'll know that there's usually technical difficulties, so hopefully we'll get through this okay. It is going to be a little bit of a shorter call today, so we'll let you off a little bit early. And what I thought I'd do is when I do the call, I thought, you know what, I'm going to talk about things that I like. So today, I like movies, so we're going to talk about movies. Um, I like cartoons, we're going to talk about cartoons, and I like sports, especially the Denver Broncos, so we will be talking about the Denver Broncos a little bit today, but hopefully we'll have some fun and in the process see if we can't find a way to get better in what we do in our business and in our meetings. So we're going to start by talking about a movie, and typically I'm going to try and look at the questions. I'm going to ask a lot of questions, so hopefully we can make this a little bit more interactive. But the first movie I wanted to look at is Moneyball. Anybody know what Moneyball is about? Oh, by the way, while you're typing that in, a little disclaimer about the movies. The movies that I'm going to talk about today, they're all really good movies. They were Academy Award winners or Academy Award nominees, so hopefully you've seen them. If you haven't seen them, doesn't matter. I'm going to talk about them, but I do give away the ending, so sorry about that. Yep, Jerry, that's it. You guys are getting it. It's about the Oakland A's. Moneyball is really it's a movie that was based on a book, and it's a true story about the Oakland Athletics in the early 2000s. And what happened is, you know, they're kind of a small market team having to compete with big market clubs like the Yankees and the Red Sox, and they don't have the kind of money that those teams do. So they were really having a hard time kind of getting over that hurdle of being able to compete with those teams. And so Billy Beane, who was with the Oakland Athletics, he met a guy by the name of Peter Brand. He was kind of an inexperienced guy. He had gone to Yale and gotten a degree in economics, and he hired him against the advice of all of his scouts and all of the people who advised him to be the GM of the Oakland A's. And the reason he hired him is because he had an interesting conversation with him where the guy was Peter Brand was giving Billy Beane these ideas on how to find players that most people wouldn't want by doing this kind of complicated statistical analysis. And he decided he'd give it a shot. Because when you think about it, what's the goal of a baseball team, or really any professional sports team for that matter? What are they trying to do? What are professional baseball trying? Yeah, they're trying to win games. You guys are getting it. They're a lot of winning. We all know that in big-time sports, whether it's college or professional, it's all about winning. And so for the Oakland Athletics, it was all about winning baseball games. But what they really wanted to know is, how do you win baseball games? So I see some people actually got it. How do you win baseball games? See, some people would say, well, one run at a time. That's right, Jim. It's one run at a time. Score more runs. A lot of guys have seen depth, outscore the opponent. That's exactly right. That's exactly what it was about. They kind of realized that if you want to win a baseball game, you have to score more runs than the other guy. But how do you score runs? Well, it turns out you score runs by getting guys on base. And that was kind of the epiphany of Moneyball. See, it wasn't that the Oakland A's woke up one day and said, well, we've been saying we want to win, but now this year we really want to win. It wasn't that. It's that they finally broke winning baseball games down to its smallest components so that they knew exactly what to do. And then they could act on what they needed to do. They could find guys that could get on base, guys that you wouldn't normally think of big league players. And so that's really the epiphany. And you know, when we look at our business, we want to win too. I mean, we want to have strong practices. We want to have successful practices. We want to win. But how do you win in this business? It isn't really, is it that you just wake up one day and say, well, I've been saying that I wanted a better practice and more clients, but this year I really mean it. I want to have a better practice and I want to have more clients. It's really not about that. I mean, you have to kind of look at what are the pieces to winning in our practice or in our business. What are the things that you can do and act on that will kind of get you to the end of the year where you can kind of raise that proverbial trophy? And what we're going to find is it's really not so much about goals or desires. It's not about wanting a better business or wanting more clients. It's really about the things that you have to do each and every day to get there. When I say the things that you have to do each and every day, I mean the things that you have to do each and every day. And so we're not going to be talking about goals as much as we're going to be talking about maps. And how do you create good maps to get you where you want to be? Kind of speaking of baseball, Yogi Berra once said, if you don't know where you're going, you might wind up someplace else. And I would add to that, if you don't know where you're starting from, you'll have a hard time figuring out how to get where you want to go. And so Moneyball for us, for financial advisors, kind of starts in the same place as Moneyball the movie starts, and that's with the numbers. But what numbers should we be looking at? And so one of the things I'm going to say is I'm not going to tell you that you have to look at this or that number. I'm going to give you an idea of some of the numbers that you could be looking at. So one of the numbers you would probably look at is the number of clients that you have. So you all should know the number of clients that you have. I shouldn't have to ask you and you say something like, well, I'll have to go back and look. That should be something that you know right off the top of your head. And if you don't know, that's okay. That's an easy number to go back and find. So that's one number we could be looking at. Another number we could be looking at is gross revenue. How much do I make each year? And if that's not at the top of your mind or at the top of your tip of your tongue, it should be. But again, that's something easy that you can kind of go back and find out. That's an easy thing to find out. And then another number that you might look at is how much money do you make from each client? Now, I don't expect that everyone would necessarily know that, but again, that's an easy number to find out. You take your gross revenue, divide it by the number of clients that you have, and there you go. Voila, average income to you from each client. Now, these are some suggestions of some numbers that you can look at, and I would kind of advise you guys to take a hard look at these numbers and see what they are right now. But you can choose a different number. But if you're going to choose a different number, what I would tell you is whatever you choose, it has to be something that you can measure. Because what we're going to talk about is you have to be able to track it. And if you can't measure it, you can't track it. So we're going to look at some numbers that can maybe get us further ahead in our business. And we're going to start by, and we're going to learn how to build a map that we can follow to a stronger and more profitable business. And so somebody said, yeah, I have found that 80% of our business comes from 20% of our best clients. That's exactly right, the Pareto rule. We're going to actually talk about that a little bit as we go. When you're starting to build these maps for how to kind of grow and strengthen your business, you're going to have to know two things. One thing you're going to have to know is, where do I want to get to? What would be the number that I want to get to? And then you have to know where you're starting from. And so these are good numbers to know so that you have an idea of where you're starting from. So where do you want to get to? And where are you starting from? And I think kind of the traditional approach, and I think we'll take the traditional approach today, is to kind of ask ourselves first, well, where do I want to get to? And I want to take a little bit of an aside here, because sometimes we all say that we want to grow our business, but a lot of times we think, well, you know, we're actually doing pretty good. I mean, maybe if I did as well as I did last year, I don't know that I need to do anything different or that I really need to make anything bigger. Do I really need to set a goal? Do I really need to build one of these maps? Do I really need to do anything different with my business? And the one thing that I would tell you is a bigger practice is a stronger practice. And the bigger your practice, the better you're able to weather storms. So let me challenge you to do this. Ask yourself this. We had the comment that, oftentimes 80% of our business comes from 20% of our clients. So ask yourself this question. If 3 or 4 of my biggest clients died or moved away, would I be in trouble? Would that impact my business? And if the answer is, yeah, that would really put a dent in my business, then guess what? Your business isn't big enough. Or ask yourself this question. If Congress changed the rules, so we just talked about last week how Congress changed the rules for Social Security. If Congress changed the rules, would that really affect my business? And if the answer is yes, then your business isn't big enough. Or ask yourself this, if we had a market downturn, and I don't mean just for a week or a month or a few months, but if we had a year-long market downturn, year and a half, would that affect my business? The answer is yes, your business isn't big enough. Now sometimes these things are opportunities. If Congress changes the rules or there's a market downturn, sometimes those things are opportunities. But I would tell you, the bigger your business, the more you're able to weather those things, and for sure, at least that buys you time. I'm not saying that if clients die or move away, it's not going to affect your business, but the bigger your business, the less it's going to affect you, and the more time you have to recover from it. I'm not saying that if Congress changes the rules that it's not going to, that you'd have a bulletproof business. I'm just saying the bigger it is, the less it's going to affect you, and the more time you have to kind of figure out what your next step is going to be. Or I'm not saying that market downturns aren't going to affect you if your business is big. I'm saying that the bigger it is, the less it's going to affect you, and the more time you're going to have to figure this out. So it's always better to be bigger and stronger. And so we should always want our businesses to be bigger and stronger so that we can answer those questions. Yeah, it would affect me, but not that much. Nothing that I couldn't get through over the next year or two. So think about really pushing to grow your business and make it stronger each and every year. And only you know what bigger and stronger means to you. But we should all be striving to get bigger and better in whatever we do or however we decide that we're going to measure that. So yeah, let's make a commitment that whatever we do starting next year, we're going to be bigger than we are today. We're going to be stronger than we are today, whatever that means to you. Now, the second question we want to ask ourselves is, well, where are we starting from? So we need to know where we're at. We need to know the number of clients that we have or the number of clients that we typically bring on each and every year. We need to know what our gross revenue is. We need to know what our average net worth of each and every client, or not the net worth of our clients, but the average income that each of our clients provides to us. And again, that's easy to figure out. You just take your gross revenue, you divide it by the number of clients, and then you have kind of a rough average. It's an easy thing to figure out. And just as an aside, I'm always a little bit surprised when I talk to guys at how many of you don't know your numbers. So it's not just that you've not given a lot of thought to where you want to be at the end of a following year, other than sort of a vague notion that I want to be doing better than I am this year. But you really don't have a good idea of where you're starting from. You don't know your numbers. You don't know how many clients you have. You don't know how much revenue you really make each and every year, or how much you've made so far this year. You don't really know how much each client is worth to you. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it's hard for me to understand and take you seriously when you don't know those things. It makes me wonder how serious you are about really getting better and growing your business if you don't even know where you're starting from. So know where you're starting from, and And if you don't know, that's okay. Like I said, it's only going to take a day or two to figure these things out. It's easy stuff, but for sure, by the end of the week or the end of the month, at least know those things. Know how many clients you have. Know how much you've made so far this year. Know how much each client is worth to you. And once you know those things, set a goal. Decide where you want to get to. And I always say, be willing to stretch. And so the general rule of thumb is, you know, kind of push yourself to do 20% better than you did the previous year. So if at the end of this year you have 100 clients, make it your goal to bring on 20 new clients and grow to 120 clients. If on average each client is worth $10,000 to you, kind of make it your goal next year to grow that to $12,000 from each person, that each client is worth $12,000 in income to you each year. And then the question you want to ask yourself is, now that I know that, now I know where I'm starting from, and so then I can tack on 20% to that, and now I know where I want to get to, but the real challenge is, how do you get there? I mean, how are you going to get there? Because remember, when we looked at Moneyball, it wasn't that the Oakland Athletics decided, oh, you know what, we want to win. No, we've been saying that for years, but really we want to win next year. We're going to try extra hard next year. That's not how it works, guys. That's not how it worked in baseball. That's not how it worked anywhere else. That's not how it's going to work for you. It's not a matter of you waking up one day and saying, okay, I want to go from 100 to 120 clients, so I'm just going to try really hard. What does try really hard mean? And that's when we talk about building these maps, what we're really doing. We're really saying, what does try really hard mean? What does winning really mean in baseball? It means getting guys on base and scoring runs. What does winning in our business or getting from 100 to 120 clients really mean? And what is it going to take to get there? And so the one thing you have to do is you have to brainstorm and list the channels, and I'll give you some examples of that in a minute, and then break it down into steps and put those steps in your calendar. And then identify daily activities. Now we're going to talk about all those things, so you don't have to write them down or remember them, but it really boils down to figuring out all the different roads that lead to that place, picking one, breaking it down into steps, putting those steps in your calendar, and then identifying things that you can do each and every day that will get you to that place. And the example that I like to use is, this is my 6-year-old son, Jonah. Now, he's decided that he loves football. And in Rochester, you have to be 6 to play flag football. That's the first year you can play. So this is a picture of him, his first year in flag football, and he loves it. And he says, Dad, I really want to be good at football. And I tell him, you know what, that's great. That's awesome. I think that would be cool if you could be good at football. So what are you going to do to be good? Now he's 6, so he's not quite sure how to answer that, and he tells me, well, I'm going to go to practice and I'm going to work really hard. No, that's great. But what are you going to do? What are the things you're going to do each and every day to be good at football? And so we sat down and we decided, well, being good at football means you can throw the ball and you can catch the ball. So every day, he and I throw the football for 5-10 minutes a day. And every day, we throw the football and catch the football 5-10 minutes a day. So we're throwing and we're catching. And we're doing this every day. And flag football, it's 6-year-old kids. It's not that competitive. It's not that organized. They're just out there to have fun. And I'm not thinking he's even the best kid out on the field, but you know what he can do? He can throw the football. And he can catch the football. And so he is one of the better kids on the field. And the only reason he can throw it and the only reason he can catch it better than some of the other kids is because we do it every day. And if we didn't do it every day, he would still have fun. And he might still be pretty good. But he wouldn't look back at the end of the year and be able to say that he was any better than he was at the beginning of the year. And so we have to work on this You don't have to work on it if you don't want to work on it, but if you want to be good at something, you have to work on it every day. And there are all things, we all have things in our lives that we want to be good at. And those things, whatever they are, whether it's being a good father or being a good husband or being good at playing the piano, work on them each and every day. And if you want to be good in your business, then guess what I'm going to tell you? You have to work on it each and every day. So let's take some examples in our business. Let's look at some things that we could be doing, because I'm seeing some comments that, you know, you got to be willing to work hard and you've got to be willing to put in the time. Well, guess what, guys? Working hard and putting in the time, it's not going to make you better at throwing and catching. Only throwing and catching is going to make you better at throwing and catching. Because notice when I said, hey, what are you going to do to be good at football, guess what he told me? I'm going to work hard, Dad. I'm going to put in the time. And that's great. I applaud that. But we got to work hard and put in the time, and we got to figure out doing what? Working hard doing what? Putting in the time doing what? And that's what we have to get to if we're ever going to have any success. So let's look at some real life examples in this business. Suppose you said, I've got 100 clients, but by the end of next year, I want to be at 120, at 20%. What would I have to do to add 20 clients to my practice next year? Now you might say, well, I'm going to have to do some seminars and some lunch and learns. So I'm going to do 4 seminars and I'm going to do 2 lunch and learns between now and the next 12 months. But we can't just stop there. We have to actually break it down into steps and get those steps in our calendars. So let's decide, when are we going to do these 4 seminars, and let's put them in the calendar. When are we going to do these 2 lunch and learns, and let's get them in the calendar. And if I had those dates in the calendar, well, then I could kind of work backwards and say, well, if I'm going to do these on these dates, I'm going to have my restaurant and my invite by these dates. Know the dates that the invites have to go out and get it in the calendar. And if you know the dates that the invite have to go out, then you know the dates that you have to be talking to the mail house by. Get those in your calendar. So now we've identified what we need to do. We need to have seminars. We need to do lunch and learns. We have the dates in our calendar. We have the dates that the invites are going to go out in our calendar. We have the dates that we need to be in touch with the mail house by in our calendar. And if seminars and lunch and learns are a big part of what it's going to take to add 20 new clients to our practice next year, then guess what I'm going to work on for 15 minutes a day? Outside the box. Every day I'm going to work on my outside the box presentation, so that when those seminars and those lunch and learns roll around in the calendar, I'm not winging it. I'm not feeling like, oh, I'm really pressed for time to learn this. I've been learning it all along and spending time doing it 15 minutes each and every day, because I know that being good at that is what it's going to take to add 20 new clients to my calendar. You can't just start out and say, well, I want 20 new clients in my in my practice next year, and I'm going to work really hard and put in the time to do it. Now I'm going to work really smart, because a lot of people are saying you have to work smart. But again, I have to encourage you, figure out, what does that mean, work smart? It means get these things in your calendar. Get the dates of the seminars and the lunch and learns in your calendar. Get the dates that the invites have to go out in your calendar. Get the dates that you have to be talking to the mail house by in your calendar, and then do outside the box 15 minutes a day. Tape it, send it in, work on it every day. 15 minutes, everybody has 15 minutes in a day for the things you want to do. There are things that if something's important to me, I have 15 minutes in a day to do it. Now, if it's not important to me, I am busy. And I'll just tell you, I don't have time for it. But if it's important to me, I have time for it. The analogy I always use is, suppose somebody said, hey, you just won $1 million, but there's a catch. You have to pick it. It's in a suitcase. It's here. It's across town, and you have to be here by noon. And if you're not here by noon, we're giving the suitcase full of money to somebody else. Would you tell me, oh, I have so many client meetings, there's no way I could be there by noon? Oh, I was gone. I was gone Thursday and Friday of last week, and then I was busy. I have so much work to catch up. There's no way. Or would I figure out a way to be there by noon to pick up that suitcase full of money? I would figure out a way to be there by noon to pick up that suitcase full of money, and so would you all. You all have time for that's important to me. I will make time for that, and I suspect that all of you would make time for that as well. Well, let's say you decided that, you know what, really what I want to do, it's not so much about adding clients as maybe getting more income from the clients that I have, just going back to my current clients and getting more money from them. What would I have to do to make that a reality? Well, maybe you would divide your client base into thirds. And then you would have deadlines to show the one-way presentation to each third of your client base, and you would put those deadlines in your calendar. And then you would have the invite letters or the annual review letters that would need to go out. And you would have the deadlines that you needed each of those batches of letters to go out to those clients in your calendar. So you would define what you want to do, which is I want more money from my existing clients, and then you would start doing the things that you would need to do, breaking it down into steps, divide the client base into third. And then you would get those steps in your calendar. In my calendar, I have a deadline to show the first third the one-way presentation. And in my calendar, I have the date that the letters for those annual reviews have to go out by. And every day for 15 minutes, I'm going to practice the one-way presentation. Because I've decided that the one-way presentation is the thing I need to do in order to get more money from my existing clients. So that's what I'm going to practice it every week, not I'm going to practice it every month, or I'm going to work on it as the deadline approaches. No, I'm going to do it every day. And if you're doing it every day, you're going to have the confidence and the ability to have success when you get in front of those people. But if you're not doing it every day, we're going to see it doesn't work. Every day you should be practicing one way. If you decide that I want more money from my existing clients, that's what I'm going to do next year, get more money from my existing clients. Well, what if you said, well, you know what I'm going to do next year? I'm going to close bigger cases with my new clients. So I'm not just going to go for part of the money. I'm going to go for all of the money. What would you need to do to get that money, bigger cases from new clients? Well, maybe you divide the 21-point checklist into thirds. And then you schedule the deadlines to learn each topic. You get those in your calendar. And then you practice the 21-point checklist 15 minutes each and every day. You don't practice it before you're getting ready to see somebody. You practice it every day so that when you're getting ready to see somebody, you're like, I know this. How do I know it? Because I practice it every day. Don't just go out there and say, well, I want to close bigger cases with my new clients. No, that's where you start. You've got to have things in your calendar. Divide the 21-point checklist into thirds, then put in your calendar the deadline to know each and every topic. And then work on it 15 minutes a day. Don't work on it every week or every month. Work on it every day. See, breaking it down in your calendar and listing daily activities is the only way it will work. And so let me say that again. Getting it down in your calendar and listing daily activities is the only way it will work. And I know some people are thinking, well, no, I mean, that can't be the only way. No, it's the only way it will work, guys. And here's the reason it's the only way it will work, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen this, and I can't tell you how many times I've done it. I set a goal. I say, so suppose I say, well, next year I want to lose 10 pounds. So that's my goal. I want to lose 10 pounds before the end of the year. What would happen if I didn't do daily activities is I would procrastinate. Because I would say, it's busy at the beginning of the year. You know, the guys are busy. It's busy at work. I've got all this stuff going on. It's busy at home. I've got a lot. I've got 12 months to lose the weight, right? And after all, it's only 10 pounds. I'll start in February. And then February becomes March, and March becomes April, and April becomes May. And finally, I wake up one day, and it's October 1st, and I think I've got to lose 10 pounds in 3 months. Maybe. But that's kind of hard. And the goal becomes unmanageable. And then I give up. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen this with people with all the goals that they have. You'll say, I want to add 20 new clients to my practice, but it's tax time and I've got all these tax clients and I've got this and that going on, and the year gets by. It's summer. We can't do any marketing in the summer. Everybody leaves town, and it gets to be October and you're like, I've got to bring on 20 clients in 3 months. And everybody knows that once you get to Thanksgiving, it's all over. So really, I've got to bring on 20. It becomes unmanageable. You give up. If you don't get it in your calendar and work on it every day, time gets away from you. And the goal seems to be too big by the time you decide to make it a reality, and then you just give up and you decide that I'll do it. We've all done that. And not just with our businesses, but with lots and lots of things. And so really, this idea of doing something every day there's a book out there called To Do, Doing, Done. It's all about taking your to-do list, breaking it down into little pieces and getting it in your calendar, and then working on each of those things each and every day. So if you're interested in more about this, the book To Do, Doing, Done, it's a great book. And it's really the basis for a lot of the things that we're talking about when we're talking about working on things each and every day. Because if you just start out with a big goal, it's too easy to procrastinate, to get to a deadline where everything seems unmanageable, and it just doesn't get done. Or if it gets done, it doesn't get done well. And unfortunately, you know, we've got to do the things that are important to us, and the things that we've got to do them well, or we should at least want to do them well. And this shouldn't be foreign to anybody. Somebody said it, it's just like going to the gym. If I wanted to lose 10 pounds, what I would say is, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds, so what do I have to do to lose 10 pounds? Probably eat less, probably exercise more. But what am I going to do every day? What are the things I'm going to do every day? I'm going to eat a salad at lunch. Every day, I'm going to go to the gym for 30 minutes. And I guarantee you, if every day I eat a salad at lunch and go to the gym for 30 minutes, I will lose 10 pounds by the end, if not more. It's just a matter of, and I'm not even going to think about it that much. If I know I'm going to eat a salad every day, is it something I have to plan or worry about, or it's going to cause a pit in my, if I'm just going to the gym every day, it becomes a habit. It's not something that I have to worry about or think about or dread or psych myself up to do each and every day. So find those things that you can do each and every day. In fact, you've heard this before. This shouldn't be foreign to any of us, because there's a list of things that we encourage you to do each and every day. We tell you, do the GOTS drill. So the GOTS drill is, if you're not familiar with it, the GOTS drill is get on somebody's side, practice getting on somebody's side or agreeing with something that you normally wouldn't agree with. So Mike says, if you're a Republican, listen to NPR. You're sure to hear something that you don't agree with, and then when you find it, turn off the radio and practice getting on their side about that thing for 15 minutes. If you're a Democrat, listen to Rush Limbaugh. Guarantee you're going to hear something that you don't like, and when you do, turn off the radio and practice agreeing with it for 15 minutes. Do that each and every day. Or listen to one of your tapes. You just listen until you find something that you think that, I could have done that better. And when you get to that place where you say, I could have done that better, turn off the tape and then rehearse for 15 minutes how I might have done that differently or better if I'd had another opportunity. And if you do that every day, you're going to be good at GOTS. If you do that every day, your 21-point checklist meetings are going to get better. But you can't do it every week or every month. You've got to do it every day. Doing it every day, making it part of the routine is what makes you successful. And I always get this question. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten this question. And it's a good question. This isn't a bad question. I like this question. But the question is, hey, what do the really successful guys on 5Q do? How is it, what are they doing to be successful? Guys, this is what they do. This is what they do to be successful. They have a written out plan to get in front of more people. If you looked at their calendars, they would have all of their seminars and lunch and learns for the first 6 months of next year in their calendar already. They would have the dates that they need to have the invites out by in their calendar already. And they would be doing the GOTS drill and the tape review every day. That would be part of their daily routine. And so if you want to know what all the successful guys are doing, this is exactly what they're doing to be successful. They have a written out list of daily activities to get better at closing people. They have a list of daily activities to be ready for the next seminar. That is what they're doing. So if you want to know what all the successful guys at 5Q do, this is what they do. This is the only thing they have in common. They're not all in Arizona or in Florida. They're all over the country. They're not all doing seminars. Some of them are doing other things. They're not all men. Some of them are women. They're not all in their 60s. Some of them are in their 40s. Some of them are in their... The only thing they have in common is they write out the things that they're going to do each and every day to get better, and they put it in their calendar. That's the only thing they have in common. That is the thing that makes them successful. So if you want to be successful, if you want to know what you have to do to be like them, this is what you have to do to be like them. And I always say, it's not rocket science. When I told you what you have to do to be successful, you probably all kind of collectively yawned and said, I've heard all this before. And you're right, you probably have heard it before, and it really is kind of as simple as, if you want to lose weight, it really is as simple as eating a salad every day and working out for 30 minutes each and every day. And yet, there are thousands of books on how to lose weight, but I would tell you, they all pretty much boil down to that. I mean, if it's really that easy, though, a fair question would be, well, why doesn't everybody achieve all of their goals? Why don't more people do it? And interestingly, a lot of people have looked at that. So anybody know Acme, who this is, or what this is, or what they're famous for? So let's see if you guys, yeah, somebody gets it right off the bat. Let's see if we can get some more. Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote, that's exactly right. Acme was the company that the Coyote would always use. So he'd cook up these schemes to get the Roadrunner, right? And then he'd get all the equipment that he needed for these schemes from Acme. Acme's not a real company, by the way, if you're wondering. It was a fictitious company invented by the cartoon people. But you're exactly right. It's a company that the Coyote would always go to, Wile E. Coyote would go to for the equipment that he needed to catch the Roadrunner. But when you think about it, that company, Acme, they make some really dodgy crap. I mean, for real. Catapults that slam you into the ground, black paint that the Roadrunner can run through, but the Coyote can't. He just, runs into the wall. I mean, they make some really dodgy crap. And if a company really consistently put out that kind of crap, could they really stay in business? No. Nobody that put out that kind of stuff on a consistent basis could ever stay in business. I mean, this coyote's been chasing this Roadrunner for years, and all of this stuff, it's crap. So how does Acme get away with it? How does Acme stay in business? Any idea? I have a theory. I'll tell you my theory, but I'm interested to hear. How does Acme stay in business? They're always putting out this stuff that doesn't work. New suckers. Foolish people. Maybe it's like Fight Club. Just as an aside, Fight Club is one of the most quoted movies of all time. So if you're an older guy, you probably quote The Godfather. If you're a younger guy, you probably quote Fight Club. It's that kind of movie where everybody's always quoting the movie. So what's Fight Club about? Well, Fight Club was this movie about this guy. We don't know his name. He's kind of an unnamed narrator. And he's walking around, he's kind of depressed, and he stumbles into a support group. I can't even remember what it was about, but he really identifies with the people. He doesn't have any problems. Maybe he walks into an AA meeting, and he's not an alcoholic, but he really finds that, he really enjoys the camaraderie and he enjoys the support. So he starts going to these support group meetings, even though he doesn't have these problems, just to get this kind of euphoria, this high. And in the process of doing all of this, he meets this guy named Tyler Durden. And Tyler Durden is everything that he wants to be. He's handsome, he's suave, he's well-spoken, he's tough, he's kind of like a man's man. And Tyler Durden has this thing that he lets him in on. It's a support group called Fight Club, where they go down to the bottom of the basement of this bar, and they have fights to prove their manliness and their toughness each and every night. Only, the end of the movie, spoiler alert, when we get to the end, we realize there's no such person as Tyler Durden. He was a figment of this guy's imagination. See, the narrator is schizophrenic, and he's not really tough, and he's not really manly, and he's not really handsome. So he sort of creates this guy in his mind that's all of those things, only he's not real. And he hides it even from himself because he's afraid he's not any of those things, and he doesn't see how he could ever be those things, so he makes it up in his mind. And maybe this is kind of a guy's movie, so if you're not familiar with Fight Club, maybe you saw, because we do have some women on the system, maybe you saw Bridges Over Madison County. Now, I don't mean that to be sexist. Bridges Over Madison County, in a lot of ways, it's the same movie, or it's the same idea told a different way. It's about this woman. She's Italian. She marries this American during World War II. And she ends up being kind of this housewife in Iowa. And she feels like, you know what, I've kind of settled into this boring life as a boring housewife in boring Iowa. And it's just not satisfying. And then this hotshot photographer, I think he was, rolls into town. And she has this 4-day affair. And her husband's gone during this whole time, but he's coming back, and so she has to make this decision. Am I going to go with this photographer who I really feel connected to, or am I going to stay home and be a housewife to my husband, who's a good husband, he's not a bad guy, and a mom to my kids? And if you've seen the movie, at the end of the movie, she's in this truck, and or if she's gone to the grocery store with her husband at the very end, he's back in town, but he's in the store and it's pouring rain, and she looks outside and she sees Clint Eastwood, the photographer, standing out there looking at the inside her car, and you could just tell that it's a moment where they have to decide whether or not they're going to be together. And at the last minute, they both decide to kind of go their separate ways. And I talk about those movies because these are both people that You know, they had an idea of what they wanted and what they could be, but they never really got to where they wanted to go. And it's kind of like Roadrunner and the coyote. You know, he chases this coyote. He knows what he wants. He wants to catch this thing. But no matter how hard he tries, he never really gets to where he wants to be or where he wants to go. Maybe the coyote's schizophrenic. Maybe he has two personalities. Maybe Acme's not this crap company that we think it is. Maybe he's secretly, like the Fight Club guy, sabotaging all the equipment. And you think, well, that's kind of weird. That's kind of funny. What does that have to do with us? Well, guys, I can't tell you how many times. I don't hear this every day, but I swear to you, I hear this every week. For 14 years I've been doing this, and I hear this every week. Not every day, but every week. Oh, Jeff, I meant to tape that. I thought I turned the tape on, but I didn't. Oh, I was going to send it to you, but something happened with my computer. And I believe you. I know these things happen, but when you hear it every week, you still have to wonder sometimes, wow, what's up with that? Are you secretly sabotaging yourself? Now, why would anybody do that? Why would anybody secretly sabotage? Why would the coyote do it? Why would he secretly sabotage the equipment so that he never got the Roadrunner? It's strange because there's been a lot of serious academic stuff written in the last 18 to 24 months on just this by philosophers and psychoanalytic guys. And we're not here to discuss the philosophy of it all, but really, if you look at all the literature, it kind of boils down to this. We don't really go for what we want, not with the intention of really trying to get it, because on some level, we're afraid that if we tried, if we went all out and we didn't get it, we'd have to admit the possibility that we're not very good at what we do. That if the Roadrunner, if the coyote really tried to get the Roadrunner and he still didn't get it, maybe he's not cut out for this. Maybe he's not a good coyote. And I understand that, because a lot of us, if we don't take beginners on this system, with rare exception. There are a few people on this call that are probably beginners, but for the most part, we've been in this business for 10, 12, 15 years. And it would be hard if we really went for it and tried and didn't get it to kind of wake up one day and say, maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe I'm not meant to do this. Maybe I'm not good enough. You all know who this is, right? Who's this? I know you guys know. Who's this a picture of? Peyton Manning. Exactly right. My hero. That's exactly right, Bert. That's my hero, Peyton Manning. Hey, I show him in a Broncos uniform, and even though he didn't have a very good day yesterday, he'll probably go down as one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But he wasn't always a Denver Bronco. Before this, he was an Indianapolis Colt. And because of some injuries and some surgeries, the Colts ended up letting him go. And when they made him, when they kind of cut him loose, there were a lot of teams that were after him. So who are some of the teams that were looking to sign him when he became a free agent? Any idea? 49ers was one. That's exactly right, Michael. 49ers. Another team that was after him, Seahawks, Cardinals, two teams that played last night. Cardinals were after him. Seahawks tried to sign him. 49ers tried to sign him. Chiefs tried to sign him. Tennessee Titans. Had anyone heard that? Tennessee Titans tried to sign him. Interesting, Tennessee Titans, because when all these teams were looking to sign him, everybody, the conventional wisdom, in addition to the Broncos, but the conventional wisdom was he'd sign with Tennessee. The reason everybody thought he'd sign with Tennessee was he was a star at the University of Tennessee, so he had a lot of ties to the university and a lot of ties to the state. And he met his wife at the University of Tennessee and got married, and so she's from Tennessee, her family's still in Tennessee, and he was close personal friends with Bud Adams, the owner of the Tennessee Titans. And there's still a lot of talk then and a lot of talk now that when he retires from football that someday he'll take a front office job with the Tennessee Titans. And so a lot of people thought he would end up in Tennessee. But he ended up choosing the Denver Broncos, and a couple years ago the Broncos were getting ready to play the Titans, and so the Tennessee newspaper, a reporter was interviewing him, and they asked him, you know, you had a lot of choices. A lot of people thought you were going to pick Tennessee, but you ended up playing for the Broncos. Do you ever wonder what it would have been like or how it would have been had you chosen Tennessee? And his answer was, nope, I never think about that. I mean, really, guys, never thinks about it. Nope, said I never think about that. I made my decision. I never look back. The only thing I do is I wake up every day and work as hard as I can every day to make my decision to play for the Broncos a good decision. And so, you know, what I would say about me, you know, I kind of stumbled in this business 14, 15, 16, 17 years ago. I kind of ended up in this business by accident. But the fact that I've been in it so long means that at some point I chose to stay in it. So I imagine there's a lot of you who might have similar stories and say, you know, I kind of ended up here by accident. But I would really encourage you to embrace the idea that to stay in it was your decision. And if you haven't really ever thought of it that way, I would really encourage you to start thinking about it that way. If not for yourself, then at least for your wife and for your kids, because if you don't embrace that, if some part of you doesn't believe that, then what can happen is people start to think, you know, life is something that happens to you. You don't really have any control or any say in how it turns out. And so all of us made a decision, however many years ago, that we were going to be in this business. And for a lot of us, we've been in this business a really long time, so there's no turning back now. So the best thing you can do is wake up every morning and work as hard as you can to make it a good decision. And you guys are successful, or most of you are really successful, so you've done a good job of that, but don't stop now. I mean, Peyton Manning's a good quarterback, and he still wakes up every morning working as hard as he can every day to make his decision to play football a good one. And the great thing about this and what you're doing and where you're at right now is learning the 21-point checklist is the best way to do that. It's the best way to do the things you need to do every day to get better and be the very best advisor that you can be. Because it gives you a way to look different and to show that you care. But more than that, it puts you in control. It truly is. Everybody says that they have this, but the 21-point checklist truly is a track to run on. You're in control, and you know exactly what to work on every day and exactly how to get better, and you can get as good as you want to get. So you're in it now. Don't look back. Wake up every day, work as hard as you can, get as good as you possibly can every day, getting better at this 21-point checklist so that you can be the very best that you want to be. And I think when you do that, you'll find that you're not only inspired, but that you're inspiring to other people, which really, at the end of the day, that's the goal of this whole thing, is to be inspired and then inspire others. So pick what you want to do. Make a commitment to do the daily things you need to do to get better, and then just go out and do it. And we're all here to help you. And that's the great thing. I know when you have a business like you guys have, it's easy to feel like you're out there on an island and that sometimes you're all alone, but you're really not. You have all of us at ECA. You have all of us here at 5Q, and you have each other, the collective wisdom and ideas, and hopefully the determination to work hard every day to get better. So that's it for today. I'm off my soapbox. Hey, we're all here We're back in the office, so if you have any questions or if you need anything, don't hesitate to give us a call. All right? Thanks, guys.